Hey everyone, today I want to talk about a reassurance statement, whether you say it to other people, whether it's self-reassurance inside your mind, whether it's happening automatically, which it will, with a lot of fears of losing control, harm, schizophrenia, mental illnesses, POCD, anything around your children, loved ones. And that is the statement, I know it won't happen. And then what you do is you use evidence, you gather evidence in a mental pool in your mind, and you carry that around trying to prove. The problem is you actually do not know that. And I was using an example with someone who I just got off the phone with before I came onto this video. And I said, if I went up to 1,000 mothers, people who don't have OCD at all, and I said, could you purposely harm your child one day? They might look at me with disgust, probably anger, get away from me, you weirdo. And if all of them said, 1,000 of 1,000, I know for a fact I would never harm my child, they would all be incorrect. Because acceptance doesn't mean agreement, and you do not know the future. Imagine this, before I go any further with Phil and introductions. I said to the average farm boy when he was 17, could you ever stab someone to death with a bayonet and watch the life leave their eyes? And they said to me, absolutely not. And this was right before D-Day. And how many of them went up in close range fire, killed people with Molotov cocktails, stabbed them, ended their lives. And they would have been wrong because they told me, there's no way. They're in the cornfields. I show up out of nowhere like Field of Dreams. This guy's crazy. Where are you coming from? I would never harm anyone. You don't know what the future holds. And that's why it's unknown. And this is why uncertainty is so critical. Before I go any further, please subscribe. Hit that like button down below. Let me know what you think. This is a really hard one to stop because if you're very, very in the rabbit hole, understandably so, of conditional self-acceptance, then this will kind of just flow off your tongue, friends, loved ones, inside your mind, automatically, self-reassurance statement. But in time, as you change your beliefs and you change your behaviors, that can really come down because you have to realize that you never can ever know what the future holds, regardless of the evidence that you have built up right now. I don't care if it's as tall as a skyscraper in 100 floors of data and information. You still do not know what the future holds, no matter how good of a person you think you are, which there are no good or bad people. And then remember, always thank Phil. Phil does a lot for the company behind the scenes. Without Phil, the company wouldn't run. So Phil at OCDrecovery.com. So when you're going, let's use maybe an example to start out off with that's not based around the harm or losing control, okay? I know for a fact if I read the books, if I do the thing because other people are not putting the work in, I know for a fact that I'll recover from OCD. You actually don't know that. Your chances are very high, but you actually don't know for some reason your genetics, whatever it is. That's why I have unconditional life acceptance if you're going to be one of those individuals that stays stuck with OCD long-term forever. That doesn't mean that I believe in treatment-resistant OCD, which might sound contradictory. It just means there needs to be that level of acceptance that, hey, maybe something really tragic in my life happens. Maybe I haven't been had any OCD symptoms at all for 10 years, and then I'm in a motor vehicle collision with my kids in the car flips, I look behind, and my child's passed away. That could just, boom, spike OCD off in a second. You come home, maybe your parents are living with you, they retire, they move back in, you come home, your mother's down on the ground from a heart attack. She's been dead for 25 minutes while you were at the grocery store. Now, these things happen in life, and how you break that down is by looking at realism and not rationalizing. So rationalization and rational thinking are not the same. They have a crossover in the middle, but they're two separate things. Logic and unconditional acceptance are not the same. Logically, which will now move us into what the video is really about, logically, I have proof, unless you have a false memory, real event, and that's going on, but you could say, I have proof I've never done that. I wasn't even there on that day. Maybe it's a real event and someone was harmed and you're being blamed. I know for a fact I wasn't even there. I wasn't there on that night. You're not gonna be able to get out of that. There's no way. I've seen women come in who have never had sex. They've never had intercourse. This has never happened. And they have a fear of being pregnant. Think about that. Think about how the logic with that. Now, someone's going to make that into a joke and I'm screwed. Shouldn't have even said it because now it's definitely going to be a joke. But it's the truth and we're all adults here, hopefully. And that person logically can say, I have never had male genitalia enter my body. And I've never had in vitro or any of the stuff when it comes to making a baby. Yeah, but what if you forgot? This is how it goes. So you're not going to be able to use unconditional acceptance to get you're not going to be able to use conditional acceptance to prove your way out of this fear pattern. That's why anything could happen in my life. Anything that I don't want to happen. Maybe one day my rage and anger comes back. I get into a fight on the road and I punch them in the face and I'll kill them and I go to jail for manslaughter. I don't want that to happen. Acceptance doesn't mean agreement. Okay, there's that really sad story of that woman, I believe, out of Utah that I had different people watch as an exposure. The judge, I watched the courtroom scene. The judge, I think she believes she was paralyzed from the neck down. I could be wrong on this, but she was watching from the hospital bed. The judge said, I believe you'd never even got like a parking ticket. She killed all 3 of her children. Strangled them to death, I believe, with the exercise bands. And the husband, I listened to the police tape where the husband found the bodies. It was tragic beyond imagination. I can't imagine. So, but that woman, if I would have said to her a month before her pregnancy or a year that you will end up strangling the 2 kids you already have and this one to death, she would have probably screamed at me and called the cops that a crazy person was trying to convince her to harm her kids. But that's the way the world goes. We don't know these things, and that's why uncertainty is a critical part. So like I said in the beginning of the video. Now, you got to stop saying that to anyone. If you keep failing, you got to keep on trying. So stop saying it to your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife, whoever you're with, your best friends, all of that has to go. You have to stop using it in situations when okay, so let's say you're a mother and your child is around you and they like come close to you and you accidentally turned and you hit him. Just boop. Nah, you didn't do that on purpose. That was just an accident. They just were there and you would never mean to do that. All of that has to go. Anything that you're doing to prove your way out. And by the way, when people say to me, well, I didn't mean to do it. Yeah, you did, or else you wouldn't have done it. There's still a piece of it that you did mean to do it, or you wouldn't have done it. So it's like, oh, I did it. My body meant to go this way. They just happened to be there, so I meant to do it from just the way the universe works. Not in like a religious or deterministic way, just how things happen. Just sheer fucking luck in the way I see it. So until those statements are coming down, it will always have you to some degree. The other thing is acceptance doesn't mean agreement. Now, why do we say this all the time? Because the fear of, and there'll be a risk taking involved, if I say that, the probability of it happening is so high, I can't live with that anymore. I can't live with the possibility that I myself, Nick, could accept this outcome because we operate solely as a society off acceptance means agreement. I cannot fathom that if I accept this possibility, that could increase the likelihood of that happening. But that is a risk that will need to be taken because I have that risk. I have no idea what I could do in my life. I have no idea what the future holds. Maybe I'm asleep one night and someone breaks into my house and they're coming upstairs and me and Erica sleep in separate rooms and I hear Erica being attacked violently and I go in there with this pen right here, where I have my knife in my room and I just walk up behind them and stab them right in the chest. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to react in that moment. I don't know. Maybe I freeze and can't move and they come and attack me. I don't know. There's no way to know. The manslaughter example, a war zone example. I have all the evidence on earth, I would say, to prove logically, because you hear people, you can't logic your way to OCD. Can't logic your way. By the way, you can't logic your way to anything if you don't have OCD. You do know that. You can't use this for non-OCD either. They just don't have the emotional suffering, so they don't have to talk about it. Because they could say, well, logically, I have no emotional disturbance. Like an average mom from Wyoming or whoever, and she has 3 kids. And, well, I know I would never do that because it's never happened. And they can use that logic, but they still actually are incorrect because they don't know that. And that's what makes it so hard for people to fathom and break down their fears because they don't know what they don't know. And they can't predict the future. I can come up with a million examples to throw, not in an animosity way, to say, well, what about this situation? Because that goes against what you say. What happens if someone breaks into your house? You live in a place like Colorado where weapons are very readily available. And someone comes into your house and you were there was a home invasion. And you had your gun, maybe a shotgun, sawed-off shotgun, and you come around the corner and you go up to shoot the person, and at the very chance, you didn't realize your son was in the kitchen hiding, and you shoot your son, sprays your son and kills him. these are not things that could never happen. It's just you don't know what the future holds for you. You have no idea. So the moral of the story is you got to stop saying those sentences. You have to stop trying to prove it your way out. If it's happening automatically, which is in there as well, that has to be there as you change your behaviors and break down your fears and move towards unconditional self-life, other acceptance. So thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed Daisy in the background over here. Always a pleasure speaking to. I'm getting a little bit better at looking at this. I have to look at the time, and so I have to move my head a little bit. And I'm looking how long I've been doing the video for. Don't sit in silence. We can help you. I have a great new series coming up starting tomorrow. If you're in the WhatsApp groups, the privilege of the WhatsApp groups by coming to a coaching call or a webinar service, I will be reading questions and answers and things that people wanted me to cover, 5 points, and going over a mini series on YouTube to show you what it's like working with people in the WhatsApp groups and talk more in depth about that and how you get in there and what that's like. So thank you as always. Enjoy the rest of your day.